Hey everybody, we're back again with another quick chess tips video. Let me pull up the board here. Okay, and today we're going to be focusing on king and pawn versus king positions. So it's going to be another endgame, and we'll start from this position that's on the board here. Now, we've talked about opposition, and that is also going to play a huge factor in this position. Right now, we see here that White's king has managed to get in front of his extra pawn, which is a good thing because we know that generally speaking that the defender, in this case Black, he would want to get in front of the pawn and not allow White to step in front of his pawn. So here in this position, if the king is on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th rank, such as here, the opposition plays a crucial role. So here in this position, whoever has to move loses the opposition, right? Because we know that from our last video, odd number of squares in between, 1 square away. So again, let's say in this position it's White to move. We know now he'll lose the opposition, and again that's key. That will not allow him to win this position since he loses the opposition. So we'll say king e3. And now Black, again, he takes the opposition with king e5 and prevents White's king from coming forward. So now, if we play king f3, he'll play king d4, right? So, if he goes back to king d3, we go back to king d5, and again, same position, king c3, king c5. And Black holds the position here by maintaining the opposition, not allowing the White king to advance. But if it's Black's move, from this position, things are very different. So, Black to move. Obviously, if he plays king e6, we're going to play king e4 to take the opposition, and that's bad. So let's say he plays king e5 here. You might think here that you want to play king e3 to take the opposition, right? But, as I've said in previous videos, the opposition, most of the times, is only a means to an end. The opposition is the means, and the end is advancement of your king. So here, we need to advance our king, because we also, in order to promote our pawn, our king is going to need to control that queening square. So, of course, we want to advance our king towards the queening square. So here, once he moves to the side, we move up with king to c4, right? Now, what does Black do here? If Black plays king e4 here, he hopes for White to play king c5, because then he just plays king d3 and takes our pawn. But if he plays king e4 here, we just play d4, right? And then that's just good for us. If he plays, in this position, king e6, then we just play king c5. And yet again we advance and we play d4. So, let's say in this position he plays king to d6. Well now, what will we do here? Some people might think that we would want to, again, advance our king and play king to b5. But that would be a terrible mistake. If we play king to b5, he plays king to d5. And again, we see we can't stop him from winning our pawn there. He's just going to come and take our d2 pawn. It's going to be a draw. So, we don't advance anymore. So, we use the same formula that we just used a couple moves ago. First, we take the opposition, then we advance. So, king to d4, right? Now, if he plays king e6, the exact same formula. The exact same idea, king c5. Now we advance, okay? And if he plays king e5, we just check him, d4, and then play king c6 next move. And we continue our advance. So let's say he goes again in front of our pawn, king d7. Now here, again, we retain our opposition, king d5. King c7 now. He moves the other way, but we again stick with our formula, king e6. We're coming forward, getting closer to that queening square on d8. Now, if he plays king d8, we'll play king d6, taking the opposition. Now he'll move away, king e8, we play d4, king d8, and now, as we see here, we have a pawn that's able to be pushed, right? So, there is an odd number of squares in between the kings, and it is white's move, but we have the extra tempo. So when we push that pawn, then it's black's move again, and he'll lose the opposition. So d5, and then he has to move, so king e8, then we play king c7, and now it's all over. King e7, d6 check. We've gained control of the queening square, and in 2 more moves we're going to make a queen, and it's game over. Right? So it's that simple. So we saw how to win if you get your king in front of your pawn, 1 square in front of your pawn, right? So now let's go back. Let's look at a position here where instead of being just 1 square in front, white's king is actually 2 squares in front of his extra pawn. And 2 squares in front is always a win, and I'll tell you why. It's because when you're 2 squares in front, you always maintain the opposition because you have the extra pawn push, right? You have that extra tempo. So it's whoever has to move here, white's going to win. So as in the previous position when it was 1 square, if it was white to move, he couldn't win. But here, now that he has 2 squares ahead, we see very clearly how he can win, right? Whereas before we said, you know, in this position, if he was only 1 square in front, he has to concede the opposition. But now we know that we have the option of pushing the pawn. So d3, and now suddenly black loses the opposition here. And then we just follow the same exact technique as before. He'll move over, we'll advance. And that's it. And then he'll play king d7, king d5. And it's the same exact formula. Take the opposition and advance. King e7, king c6. And that's it, you know. If he plays king here, we play d4. And it's game over from here. So that was the quick video tonight. It was going to be, we've learned about king and pawn versus king, and the important difference between if your king is 1 square in front of the pawn or if it's 2 squares in front of the pawn. So I hope this video helped you guys. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you very much.